the mastery yet where we want it to be, and I know that's been concern, year after year, not just here, all over the state, actually all over the country. And so, talking with our coaches, they were like, what are some things that you think that has affected you? And so I wanted, like I said, put those factors, not excuses, but factors. And first, we changed our math curriculum this year. Not really the curriculum, but the version. We got a brand new version. The company sent it to us, and we didn't know we were going to get a new version. And so we got it without doing training up front, and we think that was something different, because typically when we make changes, Mr. McCown and the board is always about sending us professional development before that happens. And this year there was just an error with the shipping, and basically what happened is we've been using an older version. They sent the brand new version to us and let us keep it, and it's a good version, but this is our first foray into it, so we feel like that's affected some of our teaching. We had the opportunity to speak with the State Department last week, all administrators, to talk about behavior and Project Aware and the support the state is giving us. And in doing that, we started looking at our data, and Ms. Richards and I looked back over 5 years, and just looking at our data, so we're not even talking about 5 years, but from last year to this year, so far this year we've had 351 office referrals. That's 3 times what we had the whole year last year, and we're only in February. And 69 of those so far have become in-school or out-of-school suspensions. That's 19.6%. So there's some disruptive behavior going on. Mr. Lee from the State Department tells me that is not just here, it is everywhere, and we're all working on those solutions together, but we admit that's something that we need to figure out. We also changed our testing windows this year. So our beginning of the year testing window, we did that a little bit later because we switched over to Clever, and so we were trying to get all of our sign-ins together, and so it took us a couple weeks longer to get started on benchmarks than it did last year. And then middle of the year, we did something different. We tested middle of the year 8 weeks earlier this year than we did last year. And the reason for that was the GSA windows have changed. So we thought if we did our middle of the year in January, our writing assessment in March, our end of the year in April, and then our GSA in May, we would have some test fatigue going on. So we thought, let's move that second benchmark to before Christmas. So these kids took it 8 weeks earlier than they did last year, so that's 8 weeks of information they had last year when they were tested they didn't have this year. So we think that probably is something we need to look at next year, weighing that against that test fatigue too, though, making sure those assessments are spread out. And then, looking at our special ed numbers. So we have 342 students right now, and 105 are special ed. So 30% of our population are special ed. So again, those are not excuses, but those are factors that we are still learning, to overcome. So talking about math, we have made progress since the beginning of the year with math. We are not where we want to be with math. When you look at that first slide, at the beginning of the year, we had about 14% of our student population on grade level. By mid-year, we had 33% on grade level, but so we're making strides in getting kids on grade level, but we definitely wish we were higher than that, and that's why I wanted to talk about those factors before. So that's where we are at math from beginning to middle. Now to break that down a little bit more, when you start talking about those different areas, well, first we'll talk about the yearly comparison. So in 2021, when we took that middle of the year, we had 20% of our population at grade level. This year, middle of the year, we have 33% at grade level. So that's not a bad thing, but as you'll see last year, we had a little more at grade level. But again, like I said, there were some differences. When we took the test, the curriculum we were using, we do feel like those are some factors that we need to think about when we compare this data, because we have a few changes there. So you will see a change from last year to this year on who's on grade level, but like I said, there's also the math piece is a different version. Then when you start breaking it down into the areas of mathematics, like numbers and operations, at the beginning of the year, only 18% of our population was on grade level. At mid-year, 39% was. So that's really good growth. That's what we want to see. We're making those yellow and red areas smaller. When you talk about our next area of algebra and algebraic thinking, beginning of the year, 21% was on grade level. Mid-year, 45%. So we're getting closer, to where we want to be with that. Again, shrinking those yellows and those reds. Measurement and data, and I find it funny that we made such progress here because most teachers will tell you they hadn't taught measurement and data at that point yet in December. That's usually something that hits us after Christmas. Beginning of the year, 27% of students were on grade level, and by mid-year, 40% were on. So again, closing that up. And then geometry, 18% at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, 32% were on grade level. So, I mean, obviously, we know when 32% of your kids are at grade level, you need to keep going. We understand that. But we also think that there are, like I said, things we're still learning about our population and how to make that work. And so I'm going to let Ms. Gano talk a little bit more about some more breakdowns by grade level. I'm sorry,
All right, so we're going to take a look at a breakdown by grade level. So you will see here kindergarten in the top row. So there's beginning of the year and middle of the year, and then the growth. You can see that kindergarten had 23% growth, first grade 17%, second grade 13%, third grade 26%, and fourth grade 14%. This quadrant is a relatively new graphic for iReady. I think it really lays out nicely the data for comparing growth to performance. So across the bottom, you will see performance relative to national norms. So the farther to the right, the higher the performance, and then on going up, the farther up, the higher the growth. So you'll see that with first grade being the farthest to the right, that means that they have the highest performance. And first grade also is the closest to the top. That means they also had the highest amount of growth. So first grade had the highest amount of growth and the highest performance, with kindergarten having the second highest growth and third grade having the second highest performance. So growth goals for math. We would like for all of our students to make 100% progress towards annual typical growth by the end of the year. Currently, school-wide, we are at 46% progress towards annual typical growth. At this point in the year, we would want to be around the 50% mark so that we can make it to the 100% mark by the end of the year. So you can see we're right there, right on track with meeting our goal. 54 of our students have already met or exceeded annual typical growth. That means they've already made a full year's worth of growth in math. And 11 students have already met or exceeded their stretch growth. And what stretch growth is an ambitious but attainable goal. So for that stretch growth, that would allow our below-level students to reach proficiency if they're on the path towards reaching proficiency if they continuously meet that stretch growth. This next slide is just a shout out to some of our students who have already met or exceeded annual typical growth. So these students, divided up by grade level here, I'll just give you a moment there to look over some of those names and how many are appearing at each grade level. So we've got lots of students who have already met a full year's worth of growth at mid-year. This next slide shows students who have already met stretch growth. So these are those students that met that ambitious but attainable goal. It's awesome if our kids make stretch growth by the end of the year. These kids already made stretch growth mid-year. So if any of these students were below level students, they would be right on track to reaching proficiency. That doesn't mean that all of these students are, of course, below level. Some of these students are on level or even above level students who are making that stretch growth. These students are students who are performing above grade level. So like I said, on that quadrant, we were looking at students who not only make growth, but students who are also achieving at that high level of performance. All right, and now I'm going to let Ms. Gano take over with reading.
Just something I wanted to add real quick. Those students that have met their typical growth, their stretch growth, and that are already performing above level, we're going to reward them at school in the coming weeks. with some certificates and some like dog tags and some maybe some treats. So we just wanted to put that out there as well. All right, so our first slide shows the beginning of the year to the middle of the year placement summary for reading as a whole. And as you can see, we went from 28% that were on level to 47%. So we're almost at 50% of our students at mid-year on level. The next slide shows the comparison from at mid-year from 2021 until the current year. And as you can see, we're not quite where we were last year, but we're right on track with 2022 and a little above where we were in 2021. The next slides break it down by domain area. So phonological awareness, we went from 73% of students on level with that skill to 81%. Phonics, we went from 36 to 62% of students on grade level. We also, like Ms. Emerson said before, we're decreasing those students that are 1 or 2 grade levels or more below grade level. The next area is reading high frequency words. We went from 58% to 72% on level. Vocabulary went from 31% at or above level to 43%. For reading comprehension, it's broke down into literature and informational. For literature, we went from 32% to 50%. We also decreased the students that were below level by quite a bit. And then for the informational, we went from 29% students performing at or above grade level to 45% of our students. All right, and I'll turn it back over to Mrs. Benoit to talk a little more about the growth.
All right, so now looking at reading growth, this breaks it down by grade level. So you see that kindergarten went from 17% at the beginning of the year to 62% at the middle of the year with a growth of 45%. First grade, growth of 24%. Second grade, growth of 4%. Third grade, a growth of 11%. And fourth grade, a growth of 13%. Here's this quadrant again. Again, those dots that are farthest to the right are the ones who have made who have the highest levels of performance, and the dots closest to the top are the ones who have the highest level of growth. So you can see that fourth grade has the highest level of growth, and that first grade, with kindergarten not far behind, has the highest performance. Ideally, we would like for everyone to be in that top right corner, that high performance, high growth, and so you can see that we're kind of edging our way there. So here's our school-wide growth of 61%. Remember, we want to be about 50% at mid-year in order to meet our goal of 100% by the end of the year. So we are already, we've already surpassed that goal of 50% mid-year. 76 of our students have already met or exceeded typical growth. That means they have already made a full year's growth in half a year. 30 of our students have met or exceeded stretch growth. That's that attainable, that high, what am I thinking of? Ambitious but attainable goal. Here are students who have already met that typical growth. Lots of kids in fourth grade you can see there. These are our students who have already met that stretch growth. These are students who are performing above grade level. Lots of third graders are performing above grade level in reading. And I think it's important to point out here that we have, we've had, those groups have had several years of CKLA now, so going into third grade, they've had several years of CKLA instruction. So I would I would like to attribute that to, at least partially to, the CKLA instruction that they've been receiving the past couple of years. Moving back to this slide, I did want to mention, as part of a statewide initiative, we have a Science of Reading team. In Work County, we call ourselves the Literacy Leaders. So we've been creating goals, and we've been delivering professional development to the staff to train them in Science of Reading practices. So our goal as literacy leaders was to have, or is to have 65% of students at 100% growth, meeting 100% growth towards annual typical growth. So currently we have 76 out of our 273 students who took the assessment. So that means we have 28% of our students currently. So we are going to be working really hard this second half of the year to meet our goal of 65% of students meeting that annual typical growth. We have here on Friday, we are going to be delivering the second half of our Science of Reading training to all instructional staff at the primary center. So our team participated in some Science of Reading training, and we have divided it up into 2 sessions, and we're giving it to the entire school, anyone who works with students and teaching them reading. So I think that is also, we can also attribute some of our reading growth to that as well. All right, that's all. Any questions for us?
Yeah, reading's one thing, but comprehending and applying's 2 more different things there. What, do you have any comments on that, as far as understanding what they're reading and stuff?
So Ms. Gano did go over some, and I think I can back it up here, to comprehension. Ooh, I think I'm going the wrong way.
Yes, we have 50% of our students currently at or above grade level for comprehending literature, and then 45% for comprehending informational.
Okay, thank you.
And I think an important thing that we've learned from our training, and actually that we are going to present to staff on Friday during our professional learning day, is that one of the greatest, actually the greatest factor in determining comprehension is knowledge. So comprehension isn't really a skill you can teach students. It's rather giving them the knowledge to be able to, so having those skills to decode the text, but then having the background knowledge. There's a lot of research out there that says actually students who have low decoding skills can actually outperform students who have high reading skills if the knowledge is there. There's a very famous study called the baseball study, and if you were to research it, you would see that students who had high reading level and high knowledge of baseball performed the highest, but then the second highest performing was students who have low reading skills and high knowledge of baseball. So I think with our CKLA curriculum, building student knowledge, that is really going to be the key in building those comprehension scores.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions?
I would just like to give some accolades to the primary center on their reading growth. So Dr. Duncan, the superintendent in Roane County, crunched some numbers from West Virginia WOW, and he looked at where everybody was in reading and mathematics in 2019 before the pandemic, and then where they are now. And 13 counties have climbed out of that hole that COVID created and are back above where they were in 2019 in math and reading. And Work County is one of those that has done that in both. But in looking specifically at the reading, and I forget which county it was, but there was only one other county that showed more growth from 2019 until last spring's testing than were. And I will say that some other school systems around have made note of that and they want to come to the primary center and take a look at the CKLA instruction and the resources that we're using to see what we are doing. So, and I'll also say, in that time, we've had a tremendous amount of growth in mathematics, and I know there's been some pickups along the way, and I know that some might be a little bit disheartened with that, but stay the course. The work that we've done in math is nothing to be ashamed of, and we're going to continue providing good professional development for teachers and good resources for teachers to help grow to get students where they need to be. So I appreciate the work, particularly the Science of Reading leadership team that have done all that work, and I will commend the Reading Textbook Adoption Committee, of which I don't know, I know that you were on it, Mrs. Benoit, but I forget all the others, but I thank them for their diligence in picking CKLA because they were talking science of reading before that came in vogue in the state of West Virginia back when the last reading adoption was, and kind of got us a little bit ahead of the curve with that. So appreciate the work that you've done on that and appreciate the work that you're continuing to do.
One more question. So if the trend continues, what percentage of students do we think are going to be at grade level in the year?
Overall in reading, is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
I mean, I think that would have to be a grade level by grade level basis because each grade level started out in a different place. So I think it depends on the grade level. I think if you, for kindergarten, it's realistic to have more students on grade level by the end of the year than per se fourth grade because in kindergarten you don't have as far to go to get to on grade level versus fourth grade if you have a big chunk of students who are multiple grade levels behind. There's also other factors to consider, like some of those things that Ms. Emerson had mentioned, like special ed population in that grade level, chronic absenteeism at that grade level, lots of different factors to consider. So I think it would be dependent on the grade level.
So like with fourth grade, before they finish at primary, what percentage of those, assuming that the trend is going the way it is now?
Currently, you've got 36% of your fourth grade on grade level at this point. I will say, and again, not an excuse, but a factor, fourth grade has the highest concentration of special ed students than any other grade in the building. You guys actually authorized a position because of that, because we couldn't meet the 30% per classroom. So, I mean, we always want to shoot for at least 50%. Can I promise that? I cannot promise that. But we've got several special ed students, because we're right now working on our PowerPoint for our state audit from special ed on the 29th of February. We've got several students that have made great gains in reading. So, our hope and our goal is that we're at 50% with that population. Can't promise that, but, like I said, we're at 36% right now. And we jumped from 23 to 36%. You know what I mean? So if we would continue that trend, I would hope that we would be very close to 50%.
So, and I think I'm going to steal Mrs. Benoit's praise, an ambitious but an attainable goal. I think when we have done professional development with this, an average goal would be to double the amount of kids that you have on grade level, double the amount of green kids, and cut in half the number of red kids each year. Is just a general rule of thumb to shoot for, and if you do better than that, fantastic.
So I have a question, and I don't know, it might be for you, I'm not sure. The special ed population number kind of jumped out at me, and I know we have a large population of special ed students in the 8th grade as well. Has there been a change in how we identify the special ed population, or?
I don't think so. I think that still goes through the SAT process.
Okay.
It's the same.
It just seems like such a large number.
I will say that we had several brand new to us this summer move in, and that totally is what messed with our fourth grade ratio. I was
Okay.
calling Mr. McCown like the night before school started going, we're never going to beat this ratio, what do we do? Because the math just doesn't work. So, sometimes doing a good job gets you a little more work. We do have a very good reputation in this county of working very hard with our special ed kids. We had several people who moved in, and it wasn't just one county. We got it from 6 different counties who said, I heard from family, I heard from friends what you guys do for these kids, how it's kid first. And so We did have a number of people move into our school this year, and that, like I said, that's why I kind of want to talk about some of those factors, because we're adjusting, you know, and I know that a couple weeks ago you guys talked about a board meeting for the first time ever, the primary center had the lowest rate for absenteeism. We're usually the highest, and you know, that's been different for us too this year. So, you know, as the world changes, factors change, and they come at you, and like we have talked about as a team, and like our coaches have talked about with us, you have to find those factors, you have to make a plan to address them, which we have been trying to do, and then you roll from it, and if the plan doesn't work, you make a new one. So.
It would be interesting, being a special ed person, it would be interesting to know of that 105 students, because that says 105 special ed students. 60 of those students could be speech.
Not this year.
Not this year.
We're actually at the lowest percentage of speech-only kids that we've had in the entire 10 years I've been.
Well, I'm not sure that's a good thing, but.
Right, but I mean, that goes to show you, yes, there are so many things that are different this year. Again, not trying to make any excuses, but I think these ladies will say it too. I've been there 10 years now. There are so many things that are different this year, and it kind of feels like we are trying to catch that train. You know what I mean? There's just a few things we're still working out, because there's been a lot of changes in our population.
So what would you say, Ms. Emerson, if you're able to? If you're not, that's fine. But, okay, out of that special ed population, what now is your highest, or your LD, ID, speech,
So the majority,
autistic?
it will be learning disabled. It will be
Okay,
LD.
that's what I would expect.
But we've had a huge increase in our kindergarten kids identified this year too, which that has never happened in 10 years.
Okay.
We've been talking with Mrs. Brown about what that looks like for first grade and how we can change instruction to make that.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, it's just been a different year, and like I said, Ms. Richards and I had the chance to spend a couple hours with some people from the State Department last week, and they just kept telling me, we hear you, it's not just you, we're with you, and we're
Yeah.
going to figure it out.
Yeah. Have, and then the discipline referrals. Any, I know we're reactive, okay, but any sense of why that's happening?
You know, there's a part of me that thinks it goes along with some of the achievement stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, as a previous educator, when you can't do the work, sometimes
Yeah,
it's much easier
absolutely.
to act out, right? But I also think part of it too is the experiences that we had as children. We had a lot more, I think, socialization than a lot of our kids now, especially our younger kids, because of what happened with COVID. People were very cautious, as they should have been. It was a whole new thing that none of us knew how to deal with. And, you know, it has not been uncommon for us to meet many families this year and say this is, and we're not just talking kindergarten, we're talking some older kids too. This is the first time our kids have been out in the public in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And so learning those social norms and cues, that takes time. I mean, we've had some kids that have joined school this year that have, you know, that are in 4th grade and haven't been in school since kindergarten.
Yeah.
That's
Have you
a lot
been,
to learn.
have you been following the new Senate, the Senate discipline bill? It passed yesterday out of the Senate. That will be a game changer for you guys.
You know,
I'm not saying in a positive way.
right, I know. You know, I'm going to say, like, these ladies, and I'm sorry, I just have female teachers, so these ladies have worked so hard on positive behavior.
Yeah.
They work so hard, like, we were just talking before we started this, you know, we have had so many team meetings this year where we just talked about one little person for 2.5 hours and talked about how can we change their schedule so they're successful. And some of these little people, we've done that 3 times this year. These ladies bend over backwards
Absolutely.
to try to make that day successful for these kiddos. And sometimes, like I said, I'm not making an excuse, but sometimes there are still factors we cannot overcome to make every day a successful day.
Yeah, those aren't, Melissa, those aren't making excuses. Those are life. We get that. We get that.
It's hard for me because I'm always proud for these ladies to talk about the great things they do, because they do great things.
Yeah.
But these are just charts, and you know, they're more than charts. They're little people that we know their stories, and we know what happened the night before, and we know, you know what I mean? So like, this is important to talk about this, but it also sometimes, I guess I just need to remind everybody it's more than just the charts. There's more than just this going on in every little person's life, and there are sometimes there are days that we just cry at the end of it, because if you knew their little story, you understand why they got thrown out of class 4 or 5 times, you know?
Yeah.
So this is all really, really important, but I think we all know too, educating the whole child, and sometimes that just means that they get through the whole day where someone was proud of them and someone smiled at them and they got to have lunch and they were safe.
Yeah.
That's the reality sometimes.
Okay. Any other questions, board members?
Yeah, I've got another one.
Okay.
So, is there anything either systems-wise, policy-wise, resource-wise, that if you had, you could make better improvements? Meaning, what do you need that would make it better to get the results that we're looking for?
It would be amazing if we could fill all of our positions, but I don't think we can do that for me. And not only fill them, but fill them with certified teachers. That would be great. You guys have given us a lot. We didn't even talk about, we have a behavior person that you guys contract with that comes and visits us twice a month and works really hard with us. It'd be awesome if he could be here every day. You know what I mean? So sometimes in the moments of those things happening, you know, could he help us? Because, you know, sometimes when you're an hour away and, you know what I mean? We do, and he does a great job. But, you know, I think the biggest thing would first be filling all those positions, but I don't know how you could do that for me. I wish we could. And they were all certified teachers. And I'm not saying anything bad about our subs because I praise God for them. We couldn't get through the day without them. But
So I'll chime in and part to answer that question. We have some students that have mental health issues, and we are not mental health experts. And we can bring in a behavior consultant, and they can say, I think this kid needs some therapy, but we can't make the parent take that kid to therapy. And I'm thinking of an individual right now, Ms. Emerson, and you know who I'm thinking of, but we can't make the parent go do that, and it doesn't rise to the level of a CPS referral, the parent not doing that. And so we have no mechanism with which to put leverage to make that happen if the parent is not willing to go and get the child some help that they need outside of us. If we could do that, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
If something changes, if something comes up, by all means, please bring it to the board. Because I think most people agree with me that if there is some tool that we can give for you that is going to help improve the performance of the children, then by all means, I support it. I think everyone else would.
and I feel like we all know that. You guys have been great about giving us, like I said, additional staff when we needed it for ratios and bringing in experts. And I just think, unfortunately, in 2024, there are some problems right now that none of us in this room can solve. And that's sad because it affects our kids.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much. We truly mean thank you. And appreciate you guys coming out and presenting your data and the conversations that we have.
Appreciate the work that you all do every day. It's not an easy job, and it's not always a job that you get the attaboys that you need. So thank you for the work that you do.
Okay, we're down to the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 24 regular meeting?
So moved.
Any corrections, comments, concerns? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2024 regular meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, down to finance. Any motion to approve the payment of invoices in the amount of $300,496.16.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
All right, Mrs. Cummings is not with us this evening, so I've got the basket of invoices here, and we've got total invoices totaling $300,496.16. That sounds like a lot, but we've got a bus and utilities in there, and so that is the biggest chunk of this. So the first run of expenditures on 1/22/2024 in the amount of $25,000 is Health Smart Dental Vision Insurance. The next run of expenditures on 1/26/2024 totaling $22,812.05. Noteworthy in this is the overhead door company for $33.19 for the new If you've been at the primary, middle, in the cafeteria, they've made a new window for kids to drop off their trays, and this is the crooked door, kind of like the garage door. It comes down and covers that up.
About like this.
Yeah, just like that. Thank you, Mr. Betts. And then the next run on 1/30/2024 in the amount of $2,043.45 is PEIA retiree insurance. The next run on 2/6/2024 totals $77,796.85. Noteworthy in this run is P card for Gordon Foods and Harris Oil for diesel. And then 2/6/2024, the next run in the amount of $26,331.37 is primarily utility bills. And then finally, the final run also on 2/6/2024 in the amount of $146,512.54. Noteworthy on this, we've got various supplies from Amazon at $7,521.01, and then the Beanie Motors for a Thomas bus in the amount of $119,975. All these expenditures total $300,496.16.
Any questions? That bus is on the road, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is, Billy Wells' route.
Okay. Very good. Any questions, board members? Here are none. We have a motion to approve the payment of invoices in the amount of $300,496.16. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Go down to budget supplements. New motion to approve budget supplements in the amount of $5,135.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
Two supplements for your consideration this evening. The first in the amount of $4,963. This is a federal vocational grant to start up a floral shop at Worth County High School. And the next in the amount of $172. This is a WBDE grant to cover the substitute cost for our Teacher of the Year absence.
Any questions?
Floral shop, that's kind of interesting. I mean, could you explain a little bit more on that, or?
Well, I know that it's in the works, but I don't know, I can bring that back to you at a future board meeting.
Okay.
More details of that. I know that it's in the works, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to speak to it in detail.
That's through vocational, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I
Yeah,
know
maybe
there's a
Elizabeth
floriculture
come talk to
class,
us.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Here are none. We have a motion to approve the budget supplements in the amount of $5,135. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, down to budget transfers. Need a motion to approve budget transfers in the amount of $41,215.04.
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
One transfer this evening in the amount of $41,250.04, and this is transferring Step 7D fund to cover professional development stipends, travels, and supplies.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Here are none. We have a motion to approve the budget transfer this evening at $41,215.04. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. We're down to personnel matters. Need a motion to approve the retirement resignation of Dina Harrison as teacher at Worth County Middle School effective June 30th, 2024.
so moved,
Any questions, comments?
but I don't want to.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
What Melissa was talking about just got one more, okay?
So I've had the pleasure of working with Dina Harrison for many years, and I'm very happy that she's going to get to retire and enjoy her retirement, but I'm very sad to see her go.
Yeah.
She has done a lot for many,
Yeah.
many students over the years, and it was my pleasure to have been her co-worker and president for many years.
Yeah, Dina hired in under me as, when I was her first principal, and I've known Dina since she was born. And as most of you know, Dina and I have traveled the world together many times, okay? many thousand miles have we traveled together. And she is a special person, loves kids, and it will be a whole, Yeah, even if she wasn't the person that she is, we just don't have those people to replace. But we wish her luck in retirement. We're going to Australia this year, right after her retirement. So, yeah. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the retirement of Dina Harrison, teacher at Worth County Middle School, effective June 30th, 2024. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. And need a motion to approve the retirement resignation of Ronnie Jean Nema, teacher at Worth County Primary Center, effective June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Any questions, comments?
So again, years ago, principal at the middle school, Ronnie Jean did 5th and 6th grade gym
Yeah.
at the end of the day for me, and it's my pleasure to work with her, and another wonderful teacher that has a heart for kids and loves kids, and another position that'll be truly missed
Yeah.
in her absence.
It might be one of the hardest ones we've had yet to fill, is Ronnie Jean's position. But again, Ronnie Jean did her student teaching for me at Newark. I was her supervising teacher, student teacher. Now, I don't know if that makes her old or me old, but won't be many more of them. I think Ronnie Jean and Dina are probably about the end of that group of teachers we hired. But she will be extremely hard in special ed, if not impossible, to replace. And she always took good care of our kids. Any other comments? Hear none. I have a motion to approve the retirement resignation of Ronnie Jean Nema, teacher at Worth County Primary Center, effective June 30th, 2024. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, need a motion to approve the maternity leave for Rebecca Dunkel from April 1, 2024 until May 23rd, 2024.
So moved.
Questions, comments? Mr. McCown?
Her letter was in your packet, and we've got several
We do.
humans on the way at the primary center, so
Young staff.
yes, indeed.
Any questions? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the maternity leave for Rebecca Dunkel from April 1, 2024 until May 23rd, 2024. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, need a motion to approve the maternity leave for Rebecca McClung from April 5th, 2024 until approximately January 2nd of 2025.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
And her letter was in your packet, and, yep, nothing to add.
Okay. Any questions? Hear none. We have a motion to approve the maternity leave for Rebecca McClung from April 5th, 2024 until approximately January 2nd, 2025. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, and then we need a motion to approve the resignation of the TIS, Caitlin Frame at Worth County Middle School. She's also the technology coordinator, and that will be effective at February 23rd, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
So her letter was in your packet. She has accepted a job in private industry outside of public education. She has done a good job for us as a teacher and a TIS, and another one that I'm very sad to
Yep.
see her go. So.
Yeah. Scary. Any questions? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the resignation of the TIS, Worth County Middle School. She's also technology coordinator, Caitlin Frame, and that will be effective February 23rd, 2024. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. That's pretty close, Mr. McCown. I should have asked this while we were in the motion, but we're probably going to end up subbing that, aren't we?
We will have a substitute in there. I think Gail has already got
Taken
one
care
down.
of. Good enough. It would surprise me if she didn't. Okay. Under employment, need a motion to approve the employment of Jennifer Boyce, special education teacher, itinerant, effective for 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
She was the successful applicant for Policy 5000 sign sheets and her application in the document.
Any questions? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve Jennifer Boyce as special ed teacher, itinerant, effective for 24-25 school year. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, under new business, need a motion to approve a Glenville State University field placement for Madeline Opagenera Lynch.
So moved.
And Maddie, if I mispronounced your name, please forgive me. I know she'll be watching. Okay, we have that motion. Mr. McCown?
So, yeah, the request from Glenville State University was in your packet. This is a placement for the Education 411 and Education 412 course, a 40-hour field placement. And I'm very happy to bring to you for your consideration a former student here coming back to do some observation hours in the field of education. We need teachers. So happy to bring that to you tonight.
Very good. Any questions? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the field placement from Glenville State University for Madeline Opagenera Lynch. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we enter into executive session to discuss the interventionist extracurricular assignment, and that will be under exemption 6. And exemption 6, I'm not going to get it by word, but if we do it in public, it could be, for a violation to a student. So I make that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it.